It's these people that are running around. I want to be clear. It's these people that are running around thinking socialism is a solution to South Africa's problems. My friend, read a book.
You mean you couldn't just nationalize the banks or?
Well, let's be clear. We're not nationalizing Fokol. Let's just be very clear, right?
In China, they've got socialism with Chinese characteristics. What stops South Africans from having socialism with South African characteristics?
Hello everybody, welcome once again to AfriPost. I believe wherever you're watching us from, you're doing great. Julius Malema is known for fighting for the downtrodden in South Africa's society. He has always championed the issues relating to black Africans, especially those in South Africa where he hails from. In his quest for equity within blacks in South Africa, he has always toyed with certain terms that has really thrown Western powers the wrong side, because he's been saying that when he and his party EFF gets power, he's going to really nationalize important industries in South Africa. And remember that major investors in South Africa's economy are whites and even foreigners. So those who are hearing these issues about nationalization have always thought like Julius Malema will come and destroy our economy and really move us away from this business. And this has really brought different challenges. Another notable South African, Vusi Thembekwayo, who is an entrepreneur and also a motivational speaker and an author, has also come forward and said that in his mind, he believes that South Africa does not need socialism or even nationalization of important industries. South Africa needs a working and efficient government. And that is why he has said that on that, he totally differs with Julius Malema. This was initiated by the response that Julius Malema gave to a German ambassador who was asking him about whether his government would consider going socialist or will at least proceed with the capitalist system that continues to exist in South Africa. I want us to listen to, first of all, Julius Malema's response to this German ambassador. Then let's listen to what Vusi Thembekwayo is saying about these issues. And then let's react to it later. Kindly watch.
My name is Andreas Peschke, and I'm the ambassador of Germany. I grew up in a country called the German Democratic Republic, also known as East Germany. So I had a first-hand real experience of really existing socialism. So the socialism as we experienced it, the communism as we experienced it in East Germany, it simply did not work. So I'm just sharing this and to let you know. To speak to somebody who has this first-hand experience, I'm ready to share this experience in more detail of how real existing socialism looked like, because we made the experience that it didn't work. And maybe it's good also to try to learn. Everybody has to make its own experiences, but maybe it's also good to learn.
Socialism didn't work in Germany, and you are going to tell us how it failed. But go and also learn from China how socialism works, and it has succeeded in China. It doesn't mean if it has failed in Germany, it will fail everywhere else. We're not Germans, we're South Africans. In China, they've got socialism with Chinese characteristics. What stops South Africans from having socialism with South African characteristics? Learning from Germany, what worked, what did not work. Take the good things, leave the bad things. Why capitalism always resort to Chinese principle, to socialist principles, every time they get into trouble? When the banks failed in 2008 and put the world into a financial crisis, it was socialist principles that took the world out of that crisis through state intervention. Where was capital at that time? If we go now, we're in Pretoria now. Let's go to commercial crimes or go to liquidation or high court and all of that. Every day without fail, there are private companies that are being liquidated there. Who said if it's capitalist owned or private owned, it's inherently successful? Who said that? So it's an ideological debate we can have. We know what happened in Eastern Germany. We know what happened in the Soviet Union. We know what's happening in China. We know what's happening in Cuba. So we can have a deeper discussion about whether this is really a way out. We sometimes get fixated on concepts, but in reality, you do the things that you say you don't want to do. Every time capital gets into problems, the state must intervene. Every time. That's when you now see the importance of socialist principles.
It's these people that are running around. I want to be clear. It's these people that are running around thinking socialism is a solution to South Africa's problems. My friend, read a book.
Yeah.
Right. Now,
But they won't.
your question was, what would I do?
Yeah, what would you do, President?
I don't know, man. I think structurally there are things that are so far eroded. There would be a lot to be done to understand the best way for us out of the problem.
You mean you couldn't just nationalize the banks or?
Well, let's be clear, we're not nationalizing Fokol. Let's just be very clear, right?
Why? It's such a good strategy.
Simple. I'll tell you why you don't nationalize.
No, seriously, answer me like you would for people who think
Okay.
that that's a great idea.
You see, government is not a meritocratic institution. If it was, the Department of Home Affairs would have awards every year for the best performing clerk. They don't have them because they don't measure the performance of clerks at Home Affairs. The structure of government is not built for meritocracy. It's not built for remuneration based on performance. So the reason you don't take institutions that need to perform and give them to the government is because you're going to flog them with a management system that doesn't require of them to perform. This is why the minute you give anything to the state, they mismanage it. It's not because they wake up this morning going, how can I mismanage this thing? It's because there is no incentive built into the system to perform. Now, in the private markets, there is an incentive. It's called survival. You don't perform, you die. That's the way it works, right? And there is a limitation to how much capital you can raise and constantly underperform. Sooner or later, they're going to change the executive or the board, or the shareholders are going to shut you down. So there is a real existential threat to non-performance. So the reason you don't nationalize institutions that need to perform is because the way our government is built is not for it to be built on performance. There are those who will say, yes, but in China, all right, let's go down this route. In China, they have, ports run by the government and mega cities, and they're doing exceptionally well. And look at their growth rate. Yes, that's true. Have you read any of the Communist Party manifestos? Have you watched any of the conferences that they publish online?
Also, have you noticed that if a minister or a person who's put in charge of the port, for example, doesn't perform, he just disappears?
Yes. But in addition to this,
I mean, there's personal accountability at the most extreme
highest level. Yes.
But
in addition to this,
kill yourself.
One of the things people don't know is that the CCP has a meritocratic institution of running promotion. It's not like the ANC. I want to be clear on this, and I say this with all the love and respect for our ruling party. They don't get voted in because they went to a conference and were able to convince other people to vote them in. In addition to that, there is an actual system of monitoring
what
your
you just
performance.
described as a popularity contest.
Yes, but they have a system where they go, this is a scorecard. Gareth, we gave you to run this port. How many jobs did you create? Were you profitable? How much economic value did you create in that region? And they will compare Gareth to Vusi and Mark and everybody else. And they'll go, in addition to him being popular, he's also the best candidate. This is why a friend of mine very popularly once said, if Barack Obama grew up in China, he wouldn't have been president, because he didn't go through the system and hierarchy of performing at different levels to get to the place where Xi Jinping can perform. So you can't use China because they're an outlier. They have very clearly built performance into the system of government. That's why today you drive a Haval and you use a Huawei and all the rest of these things. And they'll go, yes, those are all companies funded by the Chinese government. Yes, that understands capital markets and funding and profitability. And they hired the best people for the jobs. They didn't take their friends and say, well, you can have that tender to go do the watering thing. Oh, no, there's no water. People are striking now. Damn it. But we gave the tender to, yes.
Yeah, so where the Chinese government pay lip service to communism.
Yes.
and perform
A
meritocratically.
meritocratic system of government, yes.
Now, if you listen to that exchange, you'd understand that every person speaks from a point of information, because Julius Malema himself understands why he's talking about nationalization of various industries in South Africa. One thing that really necessitates this is the fact that major industrial aspects of South Africa, major industries, major movers of the economic sector are in the hands of white minority. And this is creating disparity in how the society lives, because you'd realize that much of opportunities, job opportunities and empowerment are just left to the whites and not the blacks. So this is something that has been advocated for by Julius Malema and his party, the EFF party. But one thing we must really take and talk about here is that the nationalization of various critical industries might also be a poisoned chalice, because it might end up breeding incompetence. And when people do not have certain specific goals to work towards, they might end up really destroying what they had. And this can really lead to negative aspects. Unless Julius Malema is kind of saying that they are going to adopt the Communist Party system that is used to really ensure that everybody remains productive. Similarly, Vusi is also speaking some sense, because he is saying that South Africa does not need nationalization, because in our government there is no accountability that can really call for excellence and competence in government structures. And therefore, if you nationalize these industries, you are calling for the shutdown and the fall of South Africa's economy. As an entrepreneur, as somebody who has really been in business, he understands what he's talking about. But I think unless there is need, or unless there is change of the structure through which this nationalization is going to work, then that system cannot really produce the best. I don't know whom you support in this discussion, because for me, I'm torn between Julius Malema and Vusi, because I tend to understand where Julius Malema is coming from and why he's proposing nationalization of these important industries in South Africa. But then again, what Vusi is kind of pushing there is also very reasonable, because he is saying, if we want competence, private sector must be left to be private, because only then can we have better service delivery and competence based on competition that they get during the engagement in business. Tell me down in the comment section your opinion about this topic. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and also share. Thank you, and may the good Lord bless you. Goodbye.